As the most populous country in the world, the People's Republic of China has over 1.3 billion citizens. It is a single-party state governed by the Communist Party of China. The NPC, or the National People's Congress, is the highest power in China, according to the Constitution. The Chinese government allows for no open challenge to the Communist Party's exclusive control of political power. Democratization has been very limited and nearly non-existent. Parties like the China Democracy Party were banned by the Communist Party of China. Over 6,000 years ago, China was an empire. When the empire fell, a republic was formed and then quickly collapsed. The Nationalist Party emerged but did not solve problems for Chinese peasants. The Nationalists allied with the Communist Party in order to unify the nation. However, they broke this alliance and caused a new civil war. The Communist Party won, and the Nationalists retreated. Thus begins the People's Republic of China, which is viewed most commonly in 3 chapters. Between 1949 and 1957, the PRC mostly copied the Soviet Union, which was the most powerful communist country at the time. The second chapter is considered an intermediary period after Mao died, and succession became a problem for the nation. Starting in late 1978, Deng Xiaoping became the country's leader and brought on a period of reform which continues today. The power structure in the PRC can be confusing because it is in many ways different from the American power structure, and because how it works based on the Constitution and how it works actually in practice is very different. It is easiest to understand when starting from the grassroots. The public elects and appoints their township congresses. They then elect the township government. The same goes for the county congresses and governments. County congresses appoint the municipal congresses. They appoint the municipal governments as well as the provincial congress. This congress appoints the provincial government. This makes up the local governments and legislature. The provincial government also appoints the National People's Congress, or the NPC. NPC appoints a standing committee and therefore makes up the legislature of the government structure. NPC also appoints the Supreme People's Procuratorate and the Supreme People's Court, which makes up the judiciary structure. The NPC is also in charge of appointing the Premier, which is the head of the government. The Premier then nominates those in the State Council and the NPC officially appoints them. Along with the Standing Committee, these 3 parts make up the government structure. The NPC also elects the President. However, the President is a ceremonial office only. The real power lies within the Communist Party. At the bottom of the party sits the National Party Congress, who elects the Central Committee. They elect the Politburo, as well as the Politburo Standing Committee and the General Secretary. The General Secretary acts as the leader of the Communist Party. Members of the Politburo Standing Committee control nearly all of the Chinese government through the nomenclatura system. This system calls for the officials to directly manage those officials directly below them. And because the members of the Politburo Standing Committee control most of the top positions, including the NPC, the Premier, and the President. Although the Communist Party does not tolerate any competition for its political power, it does allow 8 smaller parties, which it controls. The most populous ethnic group is that of the Han Chinese, which is about 91.5% of the total population. The remainder of the population is a very small fraction in comparison. The large difference is easiest seen on a pie chart. The PRC considers itself officially atheist. It connected religion to colonialism and therefore separates state and church. However, during its Cultural Revolution, a policy of removing religion was initiated. After the revolution, this policy was slackened and religions became tolerated by the government. The ruling party is currently very unreligious and believes that religion is something that will fade away when scientific thinking takes over. The government encourages a very limited form of religion. China recognizes Taoism, Islam, Protestantism, Catholicism, and Buddhism. China has the largest active standing army in the world with 2.25 million members. The People's Liberation Army includes an army, air force, a navy, and a strategic nuclear force. Reform and modernization appear to be the most important theme to the Chinese military. The current goal of the military is to convert from its current large land-based ground force to a smaller and more technological military. 2 of the most pressing recent economic issues include inflation and a large local government debt. China is one of the world's largest producers of rice, barley, wheat, corn, potatoes, tea, peanuts, and millet. Some of its commercial crops are cotton, apples, fish, and pork. Many products like iron and steel are produced through mining and ore processing. China also produces armaments, textiles, petroleum, chemical fertilizers, and cement. China makes a wide selection of consumer products like electronic toys. Main partners of export trade are the United States, Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, and Germany. Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, the United States, and Germany make up China's main partners for import trade. Globalization has proven to quickly modernize China, which is something that its inhabitants have wanted since the Opium War. One of the biggest reasons that this globalization has occurred is because of its open-door policy. China is allied with many countries, but some of its biggest allies are North Korea, Pakistan, Burma, Iran, possibly Syria, Russia, Sudan, Serbia, Zimbabwe, Cuba, and Venezuela. Some recent wars that China took a large part in were the invasion of Tibet, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Sino-Indian War, the Sino-Soviet border conflict, and the Sino-Vietnamese War. Some recent Chinese treaties include the Peaceful Use of Nuclear Energy Treaty, the Peace Corps Treaty, and the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. China works against terrorism both globally and regionally in many important and major ways. After the September 11 attacks in the United States, China has worked strong to rally against terrorism and has worked with the United States as a partner against terrorism. Tensions have always been thick between China and Taiwan because of how Taiwan was formed. Even though economic relations between the two has improved, politically and militarily, the tensions are growing. China wants reunification with Taiwan, however, Taiwan does not. Ever since China sent a nuclear submarine to Japanese waters, both sides are arming themselves in response to the other. Both the US and China have economies that mesh together, so economically they are both linked. However, they both compete in similar markets. They both also share very different ideologies. The border dispute between China and India has caused military tensions between both sides, and troops have been stationed by both sides near the border. Through documentation, it is well known that China has abused human rights according to international standards. These human rights violations are caused by both the lack of laws to safeguard basic freedoms and authorities' extreme disposition against resistance. Abuses include detention, forced confession, torture, and the mistreatment of prisoners, as well as oppressive constraints on basic freedoms such as speech, press, assembly, association, religion, privacy, workers' rights, and birth limitation. All of these political leaders are also members of the Politburo Standing Committee within the Communist Party. Because of China's unique position on religion, there are very few recognized religious leaders today. Lam was sent to prison for 20 years because of his faith in Christ, and when he was released, he began teaching again. Zhang is one of the most well-known living Asian theologians. The grandson of Mao Zedong is the youngest major general in the People's Liberation Army. Economic affairs are finalized and approved by the Politburo Standing Committee. However, these members are responsible for economic affairs. China's large population and labor force proved to be its leading economic resources. Its natural resources include natural gas, petroleum, zinc, tin, coal, other metals and ores, as well as its large hydropower potential. China's largest foreign issues include its tensions with other nations and troubled economy. Its main domestic issues include its gender imbalance, where there are more men than women, political oppression, the division between urban rich and rural poor, unrest within Tibet and Xinjiang for independence, its overwhelmingly large population, and finally, its pollution. The People's Republic of China is a large and complex country. The way in which it is run today is very different than many other modern countries and brings to question how its government will change with time.